Hi guys, this is Johnny Hunkins at Popular Hot Rodding Magazine. Today we're going to talk to you about a really cool carburetor called the Quick Fuel Technologies BDQ 950, and it's sitting atop this small block Chevy right here. It's got a lot of features for the money, a lot of performance, and we're just going to go walk around this thing and show you some of the cool things that it's got. But right off the bat, you can see it's got the black diamond coating. It's a very sexy looking carburetor. That coating is pretty much impervious to any chemicals and fuels. You can get it as an option on any of the Quick Fuel Technologies carburetors, and what's really cool about it is that it is high temperature coating for starters. Heat doesn't really affect it. And you get the benefit of a 6% reduction in temperature over a bare aluminum or a zinc carburetor. So attractive and functional at the same time. Let's dive into this thing and show you what it's got. Looking down the throat of this BDQ 950, you see that you've got interchangeable air bleeds for both the high speed and idle circuit. You see really nicely contoured air entries into the venturi, which is going to improve and increase the airflow through the unit. And you've got down leg boosters, which are going to give you a really good vacuum signal, really sharp throttle response. The QFT Q Series carb does have mechanical secondaries on it, and they are controlled by a linkage right here. Basically, most carburetors have the secondary linkage set up to where the secondary side of the carburetor, the throttle blades will open up when you have a remaining 40% opening left on the primaries, which means in the final 40% of mechanical travel for the primary, you get all of the secondary opening it up. Well, some guys want to have a little bit more opening a little sooner, so you have the option of swapping that linkage out for one that opens up with 60% of the travel remaining on the primary, and even 1-to-1 ratio, 100%. So if you're a really good driver and you want to have a lot of control over it, you got a lot of finesse as a driver, you might want to step up to a 60 or 100% linkage on that. So, you know, it's just a matter of the feel that you want out of the throttle, and that's adjustable, and that is a QFT exclusive. When we're talking about the secondary throttles on this QFT carburetor, I want to show you this right here. This is the throttle shaft for the secondaries, and you'll notice that that screw with the spring there, that is an adjustment for the angle of the secondary throttle blades. So when it's closed, you can actually adjust this with the carburetor still on the car. Normally, if that's adjustable at all, you have to take the carburetor off. So it's a major hassle. You got to take the fuel lines off. You got to empty it. You got to go in there and adjust it, put it back on the car, check it again. Well, you don't like it. You got to pull the carburetor back off again. It's a whole pain in the butt. So being able to do this on the car with the engine even running, magnificent. The QFT's billet aluminum metering blocks have 4-corner idle mixture adjustment, and on the bowls you have oversized shatterproof glass sight glasses. Here's another QFT exclusive. Check out the accelerator pump cam. Notice how much wider that is than a standard accelerator pump cam. The reason why QFT does that is because they know that if you're road racing or circle track racing, there's going to be a lot of wear on that cam. And having a wider surface area just means that it's just going to wear out a lot slower. So it is interchangeable with the Holley cams, which are narrower. They also work, so if you need to change the cam ramp rate, you can do that. But most people will want to use the pink cam, and it is designed wider for better wear. Before we jump into the inside of this thing, I want to point out that this QFT carb, like all QFT carbs, is all aluminum construction. There is no zinc in here. It does mean that you have about a 4-pound reduction in weight over a mixed metal zinc and aluminum carburetor. Now in the case of the QFT, the metering block and the base plate, they are built aluminum. The main body and the float bowls are cast aluminum. QFT's Q Series carburetors are designed for serious street strip cars and race-only cars in some instances, and they offer them in a variety of sizes: 650, 750, 850. This is a 950. They even offer this carburetor in 1000 CFM and 1050 CFMs too. And because it's a race carburetor, you get a couple of cool things. They offer jet extensions in this carburetor, comes with it, and that obviously keeps the jet out into the pool of fuel in the bowl when you're under acceleration. And to accommodate the jet extensions, the floats inside the bowls are notched for the extensions. Now, this particular carburetor was built for us at the custom shop there at QFT, and we actually are going to use this in a motor that's going to be road race and autocross. So we got the wedge-shaped floats, which when the carburetor is seeing cornering loads, the fuel sloshing on the sides, and under normal circumstances, it's going to hold this open and flood the bowl. So in order to keep the fuel level at the right level during cornering, the wedge-shaped float just simply keeps the float at the right level. This is a power valve, and it goes right here on the metering block. The power valve is a very interesting device. It actually helps the fuel curve. It's designed to aid in drivability, and the purpose of the power valve is that when you're at idle, normally the power valve restriction channel in the carburetor is closed. And then as you transition from a high vacuum situation into zero vacuum or near zero vacuum, the carburetor, the engine transitions into a load scenario. And as that happens, it passes from high vacuum to low vacuum, and this actually will open up against the spring pressure. Now, of course, there's nothing new about that here. That's kind of a standard deal in any kind of modular style carburetor. And the power valve, generally, you can adjust this when it actually kicks in and opens up that jet passage there based on the vacuum. This happens to be a 4.5 power valve, which means that as the car transitions into low vacuum, that this passage is going to open up around 4.5 inches of vacuum. Now, that's kind of standard. But what you don't see a lot in carburetors, and what you have in the QFT carburetor, is the passageway for the power valve restriction channel normally is equivalent to about 6 jet sizes, so that when you get into the throttle, it's like getting 6 more jet sizes. And that's pretty much set in stone. But with the QFT carburetor, what you have is adjustable passageway here for the power valve restriction channel. And these particular bleeds are about 55 thousandths in diameter, but you can actually adjust this up or down so that if you want the power valve to affect more jet size or less jet size than the traditional approximate 6 jet sizes, you can do that. Then that's going to offer you a tremendous amount of tunability when you want to use a really high capacity, high volume carburetor on a street car. It's going to make the night and day difference between being able to drive it and not being able to drive it. And according to the guys at QFT, that's going to make it almost as seamless to drive as a fuel injection setup. So good thinking on the part of QFT, great design that we really like. If your engine currently has a Holley style 4150 carburetor on it, or you've used Holley carburetors a lot in the past and you happen to have all the normal maintenance type stuff for it, like gaskets and jets and stuff, you'll be happy to know that all QFT carburetors are compatible with all the Holley style gaskets, power valves, jets, jet extensions, all the fasteners, even the inlet diameters and distance between them is the same as a double pumper. So compatibility with existing Holley modular carburetor components, big plus for guys who tinker a lot with carburetors. Now the base of the QFT carb is billet aluminum. This one's obviously been anodized black to match the black diamond finish. But what I wanted to show you here is, even though this is a race-ready carburetor, street guys will really like this because, for starters, you have your 3/8 inch vacuum port for your power brakes, and then you have also another high manifold vacuum right here. This would be, for instance, to run your vacuum advance on your distributor. Then you also have the ported outlet right here for like your transmission for a turbo 350 or turbo 400. So you know, you could bolt this onto a street car and you've got all your provisions for a vacuum, and you don't have to put on an extra spacer or aftermarket. You don't have to drill anything or get crazy with it. It's ready to go right out of the box for your street car. Well, right here you can see the difference in finish between the standard Q Series carburetor on the left and a black diamond finish. In reality, cost-wise, there's only about a $20 difference. If you price them out similar size for similar size, I think the 950 in the standard finish is for drag racing is about $789, and the black diamond one, it's about $808. You can get these prepped for different things. You can get them prepped for drag racing, circle track. You can get a drag race with annular boosters. You can get circle track with annular boosters. You can get them in E85 if you want, or if you're racing, you can run it on pure alcohol. That affects the way they build the carburetor and prep it, and some of the features in the inside. Now, you know, out of the box, the drag style BDQ 950 is a great carburetor. We actually had ours prepped for the circle track because we're going to be running on the road course and on the autocross. So it's basically what you would call the CT suffix on the end of the carburetor. So it would be like a BDQ 950 CT. So that'll add a little bit to the price of it with the mods that we got. Our BDQ 950 carb would certainly be a good candidate for this small block Chevy. This engine is about 408 inches. It's got a really aggressive hydraulic roller cam, and it makes about 600 horsepower on the dyno. But we're not going to use it on this. We're actually in the process of building a really radical small block Ford. This is a Ford Motorsport Z351 block. It's all aluminum, and we're going to build a 454 cubic inch small block. One of the reasons why we need all this air and fuel is because we're going to use it with these TFS CNC ported heads. These have 240 cc intake runners, and we're going to mount it on top of this Edelbrock Super Victor intake, and we're going to put it with a 700 inch lift solid roller cam for about 700 to 750 horsepower. So, and it's going to be a pretty wild ride. Street car that also hits the autocross and the road race circuit. So stay tuned. We're going to have the rest of that build up for you real soon right here in Popular Hot Rodding Magazine.